I'm Emma
And I'm Brian Burns.
and we are coming back at you with another episode. And this week we're going to be talking about when sales becomes gambling, which is
Gamble.
an interesting concept. But little did you know, your sales career
Can be like
can be
gambling?
like gambling. Have you ever gambled before?
Yes.
Me too. And I won $100 my first time.
Really?
And I left.
Good
Just
job.
walked away with it.
Nice work.
I know it can become a problem, so.
Yeah, it can. There's people with addictions.
Yeah, I'm addicted to this career, so let's talk about it.
My gambling, I usually only gamble what I'd be willing to spend for entertainment that evening or whatever. So that's my philosophy.
What kind of entertainment are you spending money on?
Like going to a movie or going out to dinner. Movies aren't $10 anymore. Or that kind of thing, but typically it's just poker with the boys, with friends, $20, something like that. But how does sales and gambling tie together?
Well, here's how this conversation started, and I thought it would actually be really beneficial for us to talk about.
Do we want to share the fact that we're both wearing new sweatshirts today?
Buy our merch, Daily Dilemma, at dailydilemma.com. I'm just kidding. But we did come out, we didn't come out with anything. We do have sweatshirts that say our podcast on them. That is pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Me too.
And my voice might sound a little nasally today. I had sinus surgery last week, so please forgive me if that's the case.
Yeah, it's so annoying. I don't know if any of you guys are like this, but someone's drinking water or like, no, don't do that, please. You're gonna piss me off. He drinks drinks and it triggers me because it can hear the gulping sound and it's the most aggravating noise I've ever heard. His noise is making that right now during this entire episode is like making
My
like
nose is like making a whistling sound or something.
so
If
we
Emma seems
before
triggered,
this,
now
we were
you're
fighting a couple because he's annoying.
I'm annoying, apparently. Yes.
So, anyways, so this whole conversation started when my grandma came out to help him recover from his
Surgery.
mental illness. And we were having this conversation on how it's so crazy because when I was first starting in this career, I was doing so poorly. And that took a toll on my body. I was mentally, physically exhausted because not only am I adjusting to having to be extremely self motivated without any return. It's not like in school when you study, and you take a test and you get a grade back. Um, this is like studying, making tons of outreach, and the potential of not even getting a grade to know how well you've done. It's like you could not get any return on it for months, which we'll get to later. But I was saying in the beginning, it was very taxing on my body, and I would be literally exhausted after a day because it was just so tiring doing this new job and just not getting any feedback pretty much.
Getting results.
Yeah, and then I kind of told her how now I am finally feeling confident in the role and my outreach and the opportunities I'm creating, the conversations I'm starting, the the pipeline I have going for my different reps and the opportunities, whatever. And I said, I'm doing so much better. But what's funny is last month I did better than I had done all last year. Like first calls wise, opportunities wise, all of that. I was meeting all my goals. This month, I pretty much like doubled that, or not doubled it, but just about doubled it. And I've just been doing super well, like great first calls, opportunities through the roof. Pipeline is starting to build. I'm just getting a lot more confidence. It almost feels like almost like the sixth mile out of a 10-mile race or something like that. When you just like, you've overcome the hurdle of like feeling exhausted, feeling drained, and you're kind of on that runner's high, getting through that race. And I said, but what's funny is now I'm hitting this new hurdle where it's like I'm doing so well that, and not to say like, oh, I'm doing so well, like I'm just the best at this, but I'm saying I'm doing way better than I was, that nothing gets me excited like it did. Like that first call I booked, it's like this energy rush. And then that first quota you hit is like this energy rush. That first opportunity you create is that energy rush. And you just feel like this constant high, this constant peak when people are responding to you, when you're reaching people, when you're creating those conversations, when you have things to talk about on your meetings, and you're just like, bam, bam, I'm like feeling so good. And now I'm like,
If you do that same exact thing, you don't have that same feeling.
exactly. And not only
'Cause you've
that,
already done that. You've already
you
achieved it.
almost fear your downfall because you are doing so well.
Mm,
No matter how much more you keep pushing, you're like, okay, wait, I'm doing really well right now, that I fear this next month when I have to repeat this, because like I can't be excited about what I'm doing right now because I'm already fearful of that next month.
So how this relates to gambling would be that you're constantly trying to feel that same kind of excitement or high, if you will, um, that same energy level when you've achieved something big. That
When you
was
hit the lottery.
just like with gambling. Yeah, you get that big hand or you win that big pot and you get a bunch of money. Same thing with the scheduling appointments or getting an opportunity in the pipeline or closing a deal. It's exciting the first time it happens, but then the next time the same thing happens, not as exciting because you've done this before.
Yeah.
And there's two aspects. I think there's really two ways to look at that. One is it's not as exciting, so you have to kind of do more to achieve that same excitement. But the other is that now that you've achieved that, it becomes almost like muscle memory. Like I told the story on one of our podcasts about you scoring your first goal in soccer when you were 5, and you were working all season to score it. You literally scored it in the last 2 minutes of the season, in the last game. And so um, the next season, I don't think I shared this, but the next season you scored 7 goals. It was like exponentially more because you had already done this. You knew what to do. You knew how to get the ball in the net. You kind of had some muscle memory there. It wasn't something, it wasn't this overwhelming hurdle in your mind anymore. So it can be good and bad, right? You've achieved it. So now you know how to achieve it and you can achieve higher, more, and exponentially more. But the downside is that it's not as exciting to you anymore because you've achieved that success.
And I will say I still have things that I'm reaching for. So it's not like that high is completely gone, but it is just interesting to think about. Um, and you kind of hit on it. It's like, I remember my freshman year, I was senior cross country, like, or I was on varsity cross country. And I thought it was like super crazy, like, oh, I'm on varsity, I'm doing so well, like I'm one of the better ones on the team. And it almost gets into your head because you think, what if I never do better than this?
Right.
Because I'm already doing as well as I am. And it's always been this like mental thing for me where I have to overcome this feeling of this being the best, knowing that there can be better. And kind of some of the things we hit on were like acknowledging the little wins, and no matter like how big or small they are, going, that was a win. Like whether it's 20 first calls or 5 first calls,
Right.
it's a win.
Yeah.
And I think moving forward, it's not necessarily how many you book, but it's how many quality ones you can book. So making
Well,
sure,
yeah, no, go ahead.
like maybe a next goal would be creating quality first calls and quality opportunities.
Well, do you remember when you got stuck? You were like, okay, this isn't happening. I'm doing the job, I'm doing all the things, but I'm not having success with it.
Yeah.
And what did you do to overcome that hurdle at the time? From what I remember, you threw more energy at it, right? You decided
Oh,
you
when
were
it was going
when it wasn't going well, right?
in
You
the job.
in the job. Yeah, you did some five after fives, meaning try to reach five people after 5 o'clock at night. You did some eight before eights where you came in early and you started dialing at 6 or 7. Are you hearing my nose whistle or what are you?
No, I was before 8.
You did five after fives?
I did do a few of those. I think majority of it
You worked
though,
on a Saturday, I think. You put some more energy around it. You
definitely.
tried to pour as much energy into it as you could,
Yeah.
and change it up, make some adjustments so that
Yeah, I
you
think
don't.
if we set strategies like, okay, I would set timers on my phone for 20 minutes. I'm gonna get 20 phone calls in, or I'm not gonna leave the day until I reach one person, until I made contact, yes, at least one person, or um I'm going to profile these 5 new accounts. I'm going to ask my reps for these 4 new accounts. Or I would just try new things. Like I would constantly be trying new things. And what that did was that forced me to get out of a comfort zone I hadn't started yet. And because it can get monotonous. And so it almost like forced me to figure out new things before I got started in the job and was comfortable doing one thing with immediate contact. So, yeah, I think
So you figured it out, you got past that hurdle, and then you had success. Now you're having success, and you're trying to find a way. Like, how do you find a way to stay positive? How do you find a way to celebrate the little wins and not get in a rut of, oh, this is normal? And because what can happen is you're having success today, but you're not putting in that same energy
you won't have
today,
success down the line.
then it's not going to result because these things happen. Like the effort you put in now shows results in 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 6 months, sometimes, depending
Yeah.
on the
And I
situation.
think that is one of the key things that I have learned, and what I tell people, like just starting the job or whatever, if they ever ask, like, oh, what's your take on like how you got started, whatever,
Yeah,
or how you started.
secrets to success.
Yeah, and well, not secret to success. I don't want to say like there's a lot of people on my team that are doing way better than me. I think just personally, I'm doing better than I was a few months ago.
Right.
And I'm not feeling as mentally exhausted as I was a few months ago. And so I feel confident in talking about the way that how I'm doing now, and kind of the way the game has changed a little bit for me and how I'm feeling more confident in the role. And I think the biggest takeaway is just remembering what I did a few months ago is now I'm now seeing the results of that. A majority of my January 1st calls and some of the opportunities created were people I had talked to past September, October, November, that every month I would remember, okay, I need to call them, I need to email them. I had tasks like catch up with these people, send LinkedIn requests, send them gifts, like whether it was holiday gifts or a coffee once in a while. Like those little things are what brought them back, and what made them go, okay, we have an evaluation now, let's talk. And so it's always important to keep in mind, like what I do now is going to affect me like in a few months. And not only in a few months, it's like those connections I make now could be my deals next January that I close. And so the game never stops. It's always going. And that almost reignites light, is knowing that there's more opportunities. There's always more opportunities. And you're actually gaining money instead of losing money like gambling with these. Bye. bringing in more deals.
Continue to press it,
Yeah.
continue pressing on.
But it kind of is it like our analogy of gambling is the idea it's so say someone is putting in money, they're putting in money and they're putting in money, and it's almost like the time you put into the job. And then they hit the lottery and they're like, "Hey, how do I get that again?" And they're putting in money and they're putting in money and they're putting in money. And that's the same like sales. And eventually you do get to that lottery again, but it's that in between where you just feel like, or
Yeah.
maybe you don't get the lottery, but you'll have wins along the way.
Yeah, yeah. So how do you
So
celebrate those small successes?
I do a few different things. I think it's good to reflect on them, and it's difficult when you don't have people in your family that don't know about sales, but I think for me it's nice because I can call you and I can share with you. And I think you get excited because you know what it's like to be in the job and
Yeah.
you know how exciting it is those first successes you do, but or you do have. Um, but just on the weekends, I do reflect on the week and I go, that was really awesome. And I try to acknowledge them as much as I can, no matter if I truly feel it inside, because I think we talked about it, but when you speak positively about something, it helps you think positively about that. And it's almost like telling yourself that you're happy a million times. You're I mean, it's calling you.
I got it.
Oh,
Sorry about that.
um, when you tell yourself something is good, and when you think that something is good, you'll most likely believe something is good. I think you shared a cool story about
Well,
that.
there's a famous author named Simon Sinek, and he does speaking engagements, and um, he talked about the fact that your brain is incapable of receiving the negative.
Hmm.
So, or thinking the negative. So if you tell your brain, don't think about an elephant, right? What did you just think of?
An
An
elephant.
elephant, right? You can't it can't take in that negative opposite
Yeah.
information and then think the opposite or not think what you told it. So the same is true. So it's kind of true with positivity. The more positivity that you speak and think about and expose yourself to, then that breeds more positivity. And I think I shared with you that when you and your brother and sister were young and I would pray with you at night, at bedtime, I would remember there were times where you were having nightmares at night. And so I would specifically pray positive things. I wouldn't say, dear, God, please don't let him, have these bad nightmares and think about these horrible things. I would say, I just pray that you think about and have dreams about times that we've been at Disneyland, and I would just call it out. Like I would name off all of these fun things that we had done together in the past, swimming in the pool or going bike riding or playing soccer together, and try to just fill your mind with as much positive stuff that I could think of that would excite you and make you want to think about that when you're sleeping. And it was usually very effective in helping you to have positive dreams as well. And so I think there's a lot of power in the things that we say and the way that we speak and the attitudes that we have.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the old saying of what goes in comes out. Like if you listen to terrible music, then you're bound, or music with a lot of bad words, you're bound to say some of those bad words or think some of those bad thoughts. And so it's good to listen to positive things and surround yourself with positive things. And I think ultimately that will breed
Positivity.
positivity in your life. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's always good to remind yourself, like,
Mhm.
and there's a very common term, it's called manifesting,
Mhm.
and manifesting your future and almost reassuring yourself there will be more success, there will be more opportunities, there will be more great months. And by telling yourself that and making sure you start your day by just letting yourself know that this isn't the greatest, then it overcomes a little bit of some of the mental battles you might have with just feeling like this is I'm doing so well now. This is and feel.
Best that you can do.
Yeah, and that can be so, that can be taxing in itself.
Well, and I think it ties in with some of the things we've talked about in the past, like the vision board and goal setting and things like that can help you know that there is another level that you can get to and, give you something to strive for and that next sort of high to give yourself achievement wise and, something else to accomplish and reward yourself for.
Yeah,
Cool. Well, did we have anything else to say about that?
I don't think so. I think that really is just about it.
Okay. Do you have something you want to close us with? Are we going to share an interesting, mm, I don't know, what's your favorite color, Emma?
I don't think we should do our favorite color.
No, what do you want to do?
Out of all the 5K runs you've done, what has been your favorite?
Wow, my favorite 5K run. I think my favorite is actually when I've done the triathlon, which has a 5K run in it. And it's more rewarding because there's more to it. It's like, achieving other things at the same time. And usually I'm doing that with you or Nate or, the family. So that's fun for me. What about you?
Well, we are that family that would run every single holiday, 4th of July.
So it's fun.
We did the Christmas tinsel triathlon one. We would just find any excuse to join a 5K. I think fun ones, one of the more fun ones, because I found them all pretty fun. Was the Santa Monica Classic, and it takes place in Santa Monica, California. They always do a really great job afterwards. So they have like a bunch of booths that you can go to afterwards, whether it's like checking out fish, it's like right by the beach, and
It was
um,
like a save the environment type of a theme,
yeah,
raising funds to, I think, improve the bay, like
yeah,
sea life,
yeah.
that type of thing. So yeah, that was cool. You actually made me think of another time. The first time I ever ran 3 miles was when I was a kid. I was going into junior high out of elementary school, and my dad, for some reason, decided he wanted to take me running at the track. So we went to that local middle school in Corona, and we went to the track and we were gonna just run a few laps, and we did. And then we got done with those few laps, and he's like, "Well, let's just do a couple more. We'll make it an even mile." And so we did. And then we were running, and he told me he forgot his jacket at the other end of the thing. So let's just go ahead and run another one. And so we did another one. And before I knew it, I had gotten to that kind of runner's high that you mentioned earlier. And so I was cooking along, and we ended up running 3 miles that day. And it was my first 3 miles. And it was all just through my dad's motivation. He wasn't a runner, he never really was a runner, but he did that day. And he,
So sweet. I've never heard that story. You're gonna make me cry. Yes.
that's my favorite running memory.
Wow. Okay. Well, um, that's it for today's Daily Dilemma, and we will catch you guys next week for another one. Bye.
Bye.